The history of House DelSegugio is written in blood and gold. The motto of House DelSegugio. House DelSegugio. The sun glared down upon the courtyard full of bodies, unaware of the contempt infused within the glowing warmth they enjoyed. The sun was a force that could destroy anything, and yet with that power to reduce anything to nothing, it provided the most basic resource that everything under it needed: light. Even I and my kind were dependent on its infinite assault onto the earth. "Hot today," Donovan said, his face hidden in the shadow of his coat. "Summer hasn't fully broken yet," I said in response. While Donovan wasn't threatened by the sun as I was, he still preferred the dark and chilled. Likely that's why we became friends so easily. It certainly wasn't for a sharing of common interests. The only thing we shared was a sense of patience, which greatly aided in our friendship. A whistle cut through the air, its ringing whine echoing in my ears as Coach Sarge called out, "Donovan! Argento! Dagon!" "What?" Donovan said to himself. We were sitting under a sun awning, sheltered from the summer sun. Donovan tilted his face towards me. "Is he serious?" I remained silent as the mundane girl, Melissa, yelled, "Come on, Coach! We don't need them! Besides, they can't be in the sun!" "Wrong, Mrs. Otterson!" Coach shot back. "They have excuses that they don't have to participate, not that they can't." "But Argent is literally a vampire. Won't he die in the sun?" Samantha called out. "Not according to his file," Coach answered. "Mr. DelSegugio has a resistance to sunlight. Mr. McPhail has no excuse at all. Now come on. Your team is getting creamed. The only one worth a damn is Mr. Starr." "Hey, I'm doing good on defense," Simi Lodge said as he showed how his bulk was capable of guarding the post. "Come on," I said, rising from the bench, and started down to the field. Donovan followed soon after. As soon as the sun touched the ghostly tone of my face, it made it so clear that it did not want me to be. Yet it couldn't unmake me like it could many of my kin. That took more than a casual stroll. "All right, Melissa, Jennifer, take the bench," Coach ordered. "Jericho, Samuel, you tag in for Amanda and Abraham." All the bodies called moved to their new position. The game was between my Team J2 and Team J3. We were playing the recently invented sport called basketball. Well, it was decades old, but anything trending under 100 years wasn't worthy of the adjective. It was a simple sport, too. All the good sports were a ball and 2 goals with teams of 5. The ball had to be bounced or dribbled, and every goal was 2 points. There were more rules, but the basics were all you needed to play. Coach stood in the center with the ball in hand. I took the center position against Alice. "Are you really going to play in a full business suit?" she asked, noting my attire, a full 3-piece suit and tie. "Of course, House DelSegugio already dressed for business," I answered, hoping she would set me up. "Why?" she asked, setting me up with perfect timing. "Because," I started just before Sarge blew the whistle and threw the ball straight up in the air. "We always mean business." Jumping up the whole way, I grabbed the ball at its apex and tossed it to the goal across the field. It bounced and circled the goal before falling in. I landed holding my smile inside my mouth. Alice's head was turned to the goal, her mouth agape. And I finished my bob, adding, "So we always dress for business." I allowed a smirk to cross my face as Team J3 shifted around. We stayed in our positions with me in the center. And now Breck was towering over me. The Demi-Titan looked down at me and smiled. "You jump good." "Thank you," I said as the ball was launched to the sky again. Breck launched himself after it equally to its height, grabbing it and returning to the ground with a violent shake. He looked around for me but was confused as I had disappeared by moving to be near our own goal. I took my default stance next to Simi, which was to simply stand with my feet next to each other and my hands at my side. "Wow, you're fast," Simi complimented me. I barely saw you move, and I was watching you. Thank you, I said, watching Donovan steal the ball from Rick and pass it to Carl, who in turn passed it to himself by throwing the ball across the field and running to catch it. Shooting for the goal, he sent the ball to the rim, only to have Samuel slap the ball away. Then Coach blew the whistle again. Foul! No flying! Coach yelled, pointing to Samuel, who was still in the air, his backpack sprouting streams of energy out the wings it extended. Am I not allowed to use my tools? Samuel asked. I am not very mobile without them. The tools you build are allowed. Flying of any sort is not, Coach explained. You jump like everyone else. Samuel landed, and Coach called for a penalty shot, which had everyone lined up to watch Carl make 2 shots. A bit much, isn't it? I asked. What's that? Jerry answered me by my side. We're getting 2 goals for 1 penalty? Even with the possibility of missing, that's 4 possible points just given to us. Jerry chuckled. No, these aren't worth 2 points. These are worth 1 point each. And with only 2 tries, that's only 2 points if he makes both. I see. So that's how the score can be odd despite the goals being worth an even amount of points, I said. I didn't actually care about sports of any kind, but there were always questions that having the answers to was nice. Or a 3-point shot like you did, Jerry said, and my eyebrow raised. Pointing to a line further back on the ground, he added, Any goal made past that line is worth 3 points instead of 2. I see. Thank you, I said, returning to our side of the field. That was actually interesting. Giving more points for better performance. Games like baseball and football didn't do that. Thinking about it, I walked to my teammate. Carl, I was wondering, is there such a thing as a 4-point goal in basketball? He furrowed his brow. No. Why? Shame. Just curious, I said, readying another round. Now armed with more knowledge, we played for another hour, when Coach Lodge blew his whistle for the last time and called everyone in. All right, that was great. He looked over the teams as he went over the results. Team J1 had beaten J4 by 3 points in a rather intense game, with both sides having more than 100 points each. We beat J3 28-55, with over half of our points being from my 3-pointers. Coach wrote down the score and called the attention again. Now always remember, physical exercise is equally as important as mental exercise. So no slacking. Hit the showers. Short, direct, and ending with an order. The man's style was persistent, if nothing else. Most of us started to the locker rooms, but Donovan and I was not among them. I had no reason to shower, as I didn't become dirty over time. Donovan, however, just refused to expose himself in any way. I could smell him under the hooded long coat he always wore to hide himself and his accessories. He had worked up a sweater for the game, so I decided we would likely go directly to my own home, so he could wash if he wanted. Are you okay? Donovan asked. We should head straight to House DelSegugio. You were in the sun for a long time. It was nothing. I've seen my father stand out during the summer solstice. I waved away his concern. I'm more concerned about you. I imagine you're hungry. Donovan huffed and scowled. I had insulted him, claiming that he could be at risk of losing some sense of control. It was a jab that you could only hit with malice intent or kind sincerity. It was also the same insult I had given him, although his was the other kind from mine, which was why I couldn't hold it against him. We headed down to the school's first sub-level. While the school had half a dozen floors above ground, it had many more below ground. Dozens of levels that reached deep below the surface, and further if you counted the points that fell into other side. The underlevels were a common way for many students to come and go from the school, but they were mostly upperclassmen, or night beings, like Donovan and I. We saw no one as we made our way through the first sub-level and into a subway station half a mile away. We slipped in and by without notice from the few mundanes that were there, except maybe for one young man, but he may have been drawn by my suit more than anything. Still, I could feel his gaze on me, like a wild buck snapping its head to watch a newcomer to the clearing, deciding whether to continue feeding, flee with caution, or attack with ruthless terror. This one chose to continue on his way without alarm, keeping his attention on me while we boarded the train, staying a decent distance, and even switching to the next car after the train was in motion. We rode out past the city limit, and up into the mountain area, to where the family estate stretched across multiple mountain peaks. A domain built over 2 centuries by my father. We walked on a path cut through the heavy brush, and into a cave that my father had made himself, that exited near our destination. A simple trot for the 2 of us, but a continuous series of obstacles for any invading ground force. This was supposed to be a fortress, after all. We arrived at House DelSegugio with little fanfare. The massive mansion I called home was empty except for the few staff members that lived within the house itself. They, however, were asleep, since they had no chores to attend to, with my parents gone. Donovan scanned the opening lobby with its massive stairs and archways in every direction. Always too quiet. And keep it that way, a voice came from above. We looked up to see my younger brother, Argento. The staff doesn't enjoy being disturbed. He descended the stairs with a book of the family's history in hand. He was reading on the family's past. An odd choice, as he could have simply asked the author to tell him all the tales the book held. But perhaps my brother felt this was the only way. Maybe he believed he did not have the privilege of such things, despite the fact. "And so you act as the head of staff to be courteous?" I asked, seeing if he would take the insult. "I came to greet my brother," he said. "If that is a duty of those we employ, then so be it. It's been a year since we last seen each other." He was counting himself as part of the family. This was good. "Has accompanying father on his business trips finally got you to realize your place here?" "Somewhat." He stopped in front of me, a full-grown man in height, and a suit as fine as my own. There was a blur in his eyes, though. "My father, that is, my human father, has passed away." "I am sorry for your loss," Donovan said reflectively. "There is no loss," Argento said. "He had no love for anything, and with him gone, House DelSegugio is now my only family." "Why are you awake?" I asked him. "Why are you awake?" he asked me. "I have duties to attend to in the day. You have no reason to be up. I choose to use my time constructively. Resting is constructive. You must take care of yourself." "As should you, Master Argento," a deep old voice spoke up. Norman, the head butler of the house, stepped out of the shadow. "I could smell your burnt flesh on the bottom of my coffin. And Argento, I can hear the trembles in your body. You two need to feed." "I am in fine condition, Mr. Norman." I started past him and my brother. "You need not worry about me." "Your parents would disagree," Norman shot back. "And so would I. You must feed, now." "I will feed when I am ready to feed." I headed up the stairs towards my personal chambers. "I must insist." "Know your place!" I shouted, looking at him, revealing my true stage, at the very edge of my control, tipped over by the kind sincerity of my family's most loyal member. "I am the master of this house. You are the servant." As I regained myself, Norman looked to Donovan next to me. "How could you allow this to happen?" The question was honest, and Donovan answered honestly. "It was a field day at school. We got put into the game, and by the time I could smell him burning, it was too late. The class was nearly over. Sorry." Norman sighed. "I thought we had settled this with those schools. Just because we can be in the sunlight, they think we aren't bothered by it. It is not that. I chose to play, knowing full well the risk," I said, speaking up. My hands were shaking as I let go of the mask I held over myself, allowing the horrible pain to wash over my body. Grabbing the rail to hold myself up, no one forced us into anything. "Why would you do that?" Argento stepped up. "Brother, putting yourself through that." "Because monsters hide from the sun, brother. And we are not monsters." I continued to allow the agony to wash over me, and finally enjoy the sweet numbness of my bloodlust to flow over. If not for the knowledge that Donovan, my good friend, was capable of defending himself from me, I would have attacked him, seeking the refined sunlight that coursed through him, the blood made of the earth and built with the almighty giving forth that tore me apart. I will prepare a meal, Norman said in his dutiful tone. You will all partake, and then you will all rest, as good souls should in their own home. Thank you, Norman. I regained my composure enough to continue up the stairs into my room. Donovan made himself available to my personal bath. I just sat in my room and watched the shadows of the sunset on my walls. It was mid-dusk when Donovan came out the bath, washed, dried, and hidden in his coat again. He looked to me. You know he's right. What do you know? I snapped back. Nothing. Like I said, you know he's right. He took a seat next to my own. My own hunger is a struggle I deal with daily, but I'm not constantly surrounded by my natural prey. I responded with silence, and Donovan continued in silence. Our soundless conversation continued until the Argent came to my room to call us to dinner. As we walked, I asked my brother, "Why have you returned here? Did something happen to Father?" "No," he answered. "Father was chaperoning me through some family business when a complaint arose. The situation was handled without a problem, but Father still felt the need to order me home. I feel there's more to the story. I don't want to bore you." We got to the dining hall where Norman had set up 3 spots. I looked to Norman. "You won't be joining us?" "I am but a servant." "You are more than a servant, Norman." My brother joined me. "You are of House DelSegugio. Come eat with us." "You belong here more than I do," Donovan chimed in. "And even I have a place." Norman grinned and nodded, and set a place for himself. He brought out a large double magnum wine bottle with a faded label. The liquid inside was dark and rich. "Norman, please. That's for special occasions. Get a cheaper bottle." I protested his choice. "This is a special occasion." He ripped the wax seal on the bottle neck. "Norman, please." "Know your place, Master Argento." Norman removed the rest of the seal and popped a finger through the cork, dropping it into the liquid below, grabbing 3 glasses and setting them to pour. "I am the manager of this house's resources. You are merely an occupant. Enjoy the meal." Deciding not to challenge my elder, I did so. A selection of fine steaks, with a range of sides that Donovan ignored as he downed a pound of meat. I ate with more restraint, until I took my glass and put it to my lips, allowing the delicious flavor to flow over my tongue. Instantly, my mind started to realign, my senses returning to their default equal sharpness of everything around me. I had to pull away not to swallow the glass whole, and spilled some on my suit. "Oh dear," I noted, grabbing a napkin. "Forget about it," Norman said, pulling his own away without mistake. "I've seen far worse from far better men than you. It's not a problem at all. Still, I cannot be so clumsy. I am a DelSegugio, after all." I set my napkin down and went to continue my meal, but that was when a knocking came from the door. We turned our attention to the front door. Norman rose, an expression of caution on his face. "Was anyone expecting a guest?" We answered with silence as we all rose. There was nobody in the world who should be knocking at the front door of this house. The only ones who knew how to get here would not have knocked. I made a quick mental scan of the armaments stashed throughout the household, and heard the metallic sound of a pistol racking in the hands of the Argent. Norman went to the front door and opened it. "Oh, hey!" the voice of Simeon Large called out. "I'm looking for the home of my friend, Argento DelSegugio. Do you know him?" Norman stared for a moment. "This is House DelSegugio, home of the DelSegugio family." "Awesome! Is Argento here?" Simi asked. "Do you have business with Master Argento?" "Oh no," Simi laughed. "I just came by to check up on the guy. I'm Simi Large. I'm teammates with Argento." "What prompted this concern?" I said, opening the door to reveal myself. Simi's face stretched into a massive grin. "Argento! So this is your house!" Yes, this is House DelSegugio, I answered him. How did you find this place? Oh, damn, that's a story, he said, laughing. Mind if I come in? Of course not. I stepped inside and invited him in. I gestured to Argento, who had hid his weapon away. This is my brother, Argento, and you've met Norman already. Norman made a slight bow. If you need anything, please let me know. Food would be nice, Simi answered with a grin. It was a trip to get here. How did you get here? I asked him. By walking, climbing, and even jumping a few times. Simi sniffed the air. Oh man, that smells great! I hope I didn't interrupt dinner. Of course not, I answered first. Merely added to it. Norman cooked plenty, and we can always make more. There is always enough for all at House DelSegugio. Awesome! Simi smiled again, and we returned to the dining hall. Norman set him a place, and we ate while he told us how he had to climb to the top of a few mountains to spot the clearing where the mansion was. School record only had the address as House DelSegugio, with a zip code to give me a general area. How were you able to access Master Argento's records? Norman asked. I just asked. As teammates, we're supposed to know where the others live, Simi answered. Argento knows where I live. How did you make the trek up the mountain? Even a skilled sportsman would struggle. Mutant biology, Simi slapped a bicep. I'm able to incredibly increase my physical limits. The only downside is that I get incredibly hungry. That explains the appetite, Argento commented. Simi had managed to down 3 steaks, and cleared multiple side dishes in just the short time he had been seated. Oh yeah, Simi laughed. You should see my family during the holidays. We make a king's feast look like a midnight snack. Is all of your family so gluttonous? Argento asked, with a tone between annoyed and contempt. Nah, just me and my dad, Simi answered, but then pursed his lips in an expression of confusion. Hey, Argento, you two are brothers, but you said you were the eldest son, so what's that about? I am the eldest son and heir to House DelSegugio, I said between bites. Argento is my brother. Are you half-brothers? No. I downed another glass of the too good drink. The table went quiet. Simi looked around the table at all of us. Is this a sensitive subject? Simi asked apologetically. No, Argento answered. It's not. I am the younger of the two of us. It's that simple. But you're a full-grown guy. Not in the way that matters. What way is that? Vampire years? Yes. Oh, Simi said with a tone of shock, and then asked, So how old are you in Vampire? Argento sighed. Where my brother was born 14 years ago as a vampire, I turned into one only 8 years ago. I was a man of 24 at the time, but that meant almost nothing after. Why? I mean, other demi-humans don't reset their ages like that. I mean, I was 8 before my power awakened. And Carl was a full mundane before he turned demi-human. Didn't reset the clock on him. We are different, Norman chimed in. We have an entire culture separated from the rest of humanity. A legacy of tradition and rituals that we maintain to keep hold of our place in the world. As warriors of our Lord. Your Lord? Simi raised an eyebrow. You mean Argento's father? He means the Lord above, I took over. The Heavenly Father, whom we of House DelSegugio serve before all others. The Messiah who grants salvation in this life and the next through the Great Spirit. Simi continued to stare with a raised eyebrow. They're Catholic, Donovan spoke up, apparently sated. They have a bunch of weird rituals that give them a bunch of perks, like being able to walk in sunlight. You make it sound so nonchalant, I said. So, you go to church every Sunday, and so you're immune to sunlight and crosses and don't need blood? Simi said. Is that right? Absolutely not, I answered. We only have a significant resilience to such things, and still need blood. And to answer the next question you have, no, It does not have to be human blood. Any mammal will do. I see, Simi said as he set his silverware down. So you were suffering today, after class. I maintained my composure. It's nothing to worry about. The hell it ain't, Simi said, scowling. You put yourself in danger for no good reason. Wrong! I dropped my fist and looked at Simi. I did it for the honor of House DelSegugio. My family are noble warriors who do not turn down challenges for being difficult, dangerous, or inconvenient. My family's honor is more important than your concern. Simi huffed at that. Fine, I get that. But that doesn't excuse just running off after without a word. I don't have to justify my every action. Doesn't mean you can't, because I know why you ran off. You do? Yes, Argento, Simi hardened his face. I know what blood smells like. And more importantly, I know what human blood smells like. I stared back at him. My anger was cold in my chest and on my fangs. I kept my eyes on Simi and returned his glare. What's your point? Running off because you needed blood is not... I shut up and slammed a fist down. I did not need to feed. I was well in control of myself, and I will not take this insult. It's not an insult to care about my friend, he said in a calm tone. And needing to care for yourself is not a vice. I don't know what exactly you're feeling or why. But when I'm hungry, I eat. When I'm tired, I rest. And when I'm hurt, I get help. I don't hide my weakness, and neither should you. Some of my anger left me, and I relaxed, dropping my gaze. It's different. Is it different enough? Yes. A moment of silence followed that, until Simi stood up, a smile wide on his face. Well, alright then, if you say so. Still, don't think you can't count on me, man. Now, I gotta get going. Mama's probably setting the second course and wondering where I am. I'll walk you out, Norman said and rose to do so. I was stunned. I didn't know how to react. I just stood there until I heard the front door close. Donovan lifted the old bottle up to me and looked at me. I agree with Simi. You need it. Now take it, Donovan said flatly, and swilled the bottle of blood wine. A stored and preserved form of the life blood my kind needed. The bottle was still half full. I had drank the most, but I had been pacing myself, controlling myself, not allowing the hunger to decide anything. And I had done well. I could feel the maddening craving numb inside of me as I became sated. My control was unchallenged. I had won, but a meal did not end simply because one quieted their stomach. A meal can be enjoyed until one is stuffed fat. So I took the bottle from my friend, put it to my lips, and raised it, downing the rest of it. It was most delicious.